Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, I've got a very special guest. He's an NCAA All-American from Michigan. He's the Big Ten Medal of Honor recipient. He was a member of the DC Trident in his first year as a professional this season in the ISL 2020. Please welcome Tommy Cope. Tommy, how's it going, man?
Hi, Coleman. Thanks for having me.
Start with just the most recent past. You were just in the ISL bubble, got to compete for the DC Trident. One of the coolest parts about ISL is how much everyone loves their team, right? The camaraderie, the team spirit that you see from every single team. And it seems like DC Trident is right up there with the most spirited teams. Tell me about your experience as you get out of college and you get to be a part of this pro team.
Yeah. So when I graduated, I guess I never really had a graduation because of all the COVID stuff. But after last year, I was kind of bummed because didn't really get to end on a great note and didn't really think that I was ever going to be part of a team again. And then I get asked to be on the ISL, and like all of a sudden I'm part of a team again. It was really fun. We were only over there for 5 weeks, but I could tell you so much about each and every person on DC Trident. Like we were really close. I don't know if there was another team closer than us, but we always were out there cheering, and it was awesome. It was a fun time.
Yeah. First of all, did you, coming out of college, did you think ISL was a possibility for you?
Yeah. So when I was first planning what was going to happen after I graduated, COVID didn't exist. And so I was just thinking that I was going to be done. I was going to swim through Olympic trials, and then I was going to be done. And then I'm doing my master's right now at Michigan in engineering. And so I thought that I was just going to have a year to enjoy the real college life and not be swimming the whole time. And then COVID happened, and I was lucky enough to find an internship over the summer in Missouri, where I wasn't planning this. But yeah, I had an internship in Missouri, and where I was in Missouri, there was no COVID cases because it was pretty isolated. And so I had access to a 50-meter pool and a 25-yard pool. And so I practiced. And so I was like, well, I'm in pretty good shape. I might as well swim through this year. And then
where was this?
Cape Girardeau. It's like an hour and a half south of St. Louis.
Oh, I know where. I'm very familiar with Cape Girardeau. Yeah. That's where we went for I went to meets there all the time in high school.
Yeah. It was pretty nice. I was very lucky to find that, and I'm really grateful to all the people who helped me out there. And so it worked that I was able to stay in shape. And so I got back to Michigan. I talked with my coaches here, Josh and Mike and Sam, and we were like, might as well keep swimming. Why not? And so I was just training like normal, and then still had no plan of doing ISL. And then this is mid-September. And then,
wow. Okay.
Some of the Australians weren't able to attend the ISL, unfortunately. And so some of the teams were scrambling to find people. And my coach suggested, one of the ISL coaches called my coach Josh, and he gave my name. And so they called me up, and I thought I was going to be going. Then it turned out that the person's place I was taking, he was actually going to be able to go. And so I wasn't going. And then 5 hours before the deadline, for any roster changes, Cindy Gallagher called me up and was like, Tommy, can you do it? And I was like, yeah, I guess. And so I just decided on the spot to do ISL, and I'm so grateful that I did. And it just happened to work out. So I was definitely not planning on doing it.
Oh my gosh. To give our To get that's, I mean, I got stressed just listening to that. To give our listeners a little context, I mean, you had to be one of DC Trident's top scorers throughout the season. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I don't, you don't need to toot your own horn. I'll
No,
do
I
that.
don't even know.
Yeah, but I mean, you turned out to be a very important piece for the DC Trident. You were in breaststroke events, you were in IM events. You were versatile. You were on relays, and I mean, did you ever win an event?
No, I got second once and third a bunch of times, but I was fighting for it.
You were, I mean, especially in the tuner breast. I remember, I watched every match, and I remember every match. It's like, dude, Tommy's in there. It's
I
like
know that
you
last
said.
50 get me every time.
I mean, you were in there. And third place is that's really important in ISL because again, it's all about the points, and
Yeah.
and the points matter. And so going into ISL, I think DC Trident kept a good amount of its core from last year, and so there was kind of already that team culture. What were you expecting from that team when you got there, and then how were those expectations manifested throughout just that first week of being with the team?
Well, I would say, yeah, to just touch on your first point, yeah, they did keep a lot of their team, and so I was worried that I was going to be going into like an environment where, like the friendships had already been made, everybody knew each other, um, and so I would be kind of like an outsider. But that couldn't have been farther from the truth. Like everybody took me in immediately, and everybody was talking to me just like I was a normal guy, and had been on their team last year. So that was really awesome. And then just in general, going to the ISL, it was pretty nerve wracking because like going against like Olympians, going against world record holders, every swim. Like I swam next to Adam Peaty like at least three or four times, and like the first time you do that, it's I almost didn't know what to expect. I was very nervous, but I had some suit malfunction before my first race, and so luckily I didn't even have time to worry that much. But well, after the first race, it just felt so natural. It just felt like a continuation of all of the college dual meets that I had been through, and Big Tens and NCs and everything like that. And so it just felt like a natural continuation, and it felt really good to be racing again.
Yeah. I mean, I've certainly followed your results. We have a mutual coach.
Yeah.
I worked for one of your club coaches for a while, and so I've known you for a while, and I followed you at Michigan, and I saw you were going to be in the ISL, and it's like, okay, that's super cool. I didn't know how you were gonna stack up to, like you said,
Yeah.
that those world record holders, those guys who've been pro for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you went out there and you were in it. Uh,
Yeah.
talk about that. You said it's like a continuation of the dual meets of the Big Tens and NCs,
Mm-hmm.
of that collegiate type racing. I mean, talk about how you move through that 5 weeks, race after race after race, week after week. Do you feel like you were able to improve, and how are you able to stay kind of at the top of your game for every week?
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, with dual meets and like Big Tens, even, I'm never really that rested. And so going into it, I always, um, you don't have any easy speed, easy speed. And so you just have to go all out from the very beginning. And so I kind of knew that strategy already. Like, I feel like some of the people who didn't go to college in the U.S. or have been out of college for a while have kind of forgotten how to do like that painful like 200 breast in a dual meet that you already have swam the 50 breast, 100 breast, and like 200 IM. And so I kind of knew how I was going to swim, but certainly like it's a little bit different, like racing in a speedo after a practice versus shaving and putting on a suit and stepping up against like some of the fastest people in the world. Um, but I always just took it as a challenge and didn't ever put any pressure on myself, because I always thought like, I'm the underdog here. I'm just trying to do as best as I can. And I always just tried to keep up with the other guys. And that was what my main strategy was. And as the meets progressed, I started to get a little bit more confident. But that also came with like a little bit more expectation. And so in the third meet, which also happened to be the meet that we only had 2 days of downtime in between our second and third meet. And so in the third meet, I was kind of tired. And then I was also starting to have like expectations for myself. And that kind of played against me. And so learning from that, in the fourth meet, I went into it. I tried to swim confidently, and I tried to just every time I stepped into the blocks, I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Everything that I need to do is already here. Like I just need to go out there and perform. And that's all I went into the races thinking, and that was my best meet. And so I definitely learned and adapted throughout the meets, and having them so close together, I think was actually a benefit, because I didn't forget what I needed to work on in between each one.
It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting format that we haven't seen much of in swimming. You know, even with dual meets, I feel like you really only have maybe 2 a month. You know, a lot of schools, I feel like it's more like 1 a month. But yeah, like you said, you don't really forget. You know, it's like you swim a race, you're like, okay, I need to work on this, and then you have another opportunity pretty soon after. And again, I think for swim fans like me, it's the amazing part is that like, how do you keep going so fast when it's like when we're used to seeing like one big taper meet, and then the rest of the time you swim like crap.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was kind of like you're doing a half taper the whole time, because I definitely didn't feel ever, well, I definitely went into it thinking like, okay, I'm not the kind of person that can train through this 6 weeks or however long we were going to be there and then taper down. I know that some people were able to do that, but I just thought that I needed to be able to perform every time. And so I just kind of always try to get a little bit of aerobic in, a little bit of good work in before, like 4 or 5 days before, and then like the next few days drop down. But I was able to keep like a half taper the whole time. Like I wasn't ever able to get like 100%, but I would say I hit like 90% taper every single time. And so that was like weird, but I'm surprised I was able to hold on for that long. And even like after it, I did a few long course time trials, and those went pretty well. And so I don't know, maybe I don't need to train that much. Probably not what my coaches are going to say, but it was pretty interesting that I was able to, or like that most people were able to keep going fast, and if not faster. So that was pretty unique, and I don't think I've ever seen something like that before.
It's I agreed. I certainly have never seen anything like that before, and I think it's also interesting because maybe a lot of people were coming from like a solid training base because there weren't any big meets this summer, but also, you know, it's like some people haven't swam in like 4 months before that, or you know, had only been training for a few months and then hadn't swam for 4 months before that. So it really interesting 9 months, 9-month progression, right, leading up to that. But I want to back up a bit to your time in Missouri in Cape Girardeau. You know, you were swimming on your own, right?
Yep.
And that was during the summer.
Yeah, I was from let's see, when did I go out there? I think it was like mid-May, or yeah, it was like mid-May to August 7th, or no, it was June 1st, August 7th was my internship length. And so prior to that, I was in Ohio at home, and all the pools and everything was shut down. And so I hadn't swam, and I got out there, and the first day I was kind of bored. And so, because there's not too much to do, especially for someone who's new in town and doesn't know anybody. And so I went to the gym and found a pool, and I was like, okay, I'll start swimming. And so the first week was miserable. Felt like I didn't know how to swim, and then also being by myself, I'm like questioning everything. But after that, I started communicating with my coaches and getting practices sent, and I started slowly building back into it. And practicing by yourself is very interesting because for once I was more focused on how I was swimming rather than like, I'm a very competitive person, and so like usually I just want to beat the person who's training next to me. But being able to train by yourself, you're able to think of different things. um, and so I've spent a lot of time working on my technique, which was hard because I would have to videotape myself because nobody else was watching me either. And I would send it to my coaches or whatever. But it was interesting, and also made me think a lot about why I was actually swimming, because nobody's telling me that I had need to be at the pool. My job was I'm in engineering. I got my degree in engineering, and so I was working in a factory. And so we would start work at like 6:30 or 7, and so I would have to swim. I would have to get up to swim at like 4:15. And so
It was open.
yeah, yeah. Well, by the time I got there, I had to drive like half an hour.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so it really made me like think, okay, like I had to really commit and know why I was swimming. And so that was also a good thing, instead of just doing it because like it was easier than getting yelled at. And so it was really interesting swimming by myself. And I'm like glad to be back swimming with other people, but it was a really important experience, I think, for myself. It was interesting too because like some days I would swim so slowly, and then some days I would be able to swim so fast. And uh, without coach telling me what really was going on, I was having to learn a lot by myself about self coaching and things like that. So it was a really valuable experience, and I don't know if I would want to do it so soon again, but I think that I could if I needed to.
That's
Go swim in a
that.
lake or something.
That's really interesting. I think this is so timely, at least for me, because I just talked to Marco Koch this morning,
Mm-hmm.
another breaststroker who
Yeah.
had success in ISL, and he's 30, and he's been swimming for a long time, and he mostly trains by himself.
Mm-hmm. I think
And
that it's possible with breaststroke. Other strokes it's harder, but I heard
what?
like Daniel Roy, growing up in Seattle, I think he trained by himself a lot too. I remember him telling me that, and so like I think it's a trend, or something's going on here.
Yeah, I remember interviewing him, and because I think he lived 2 hours between like cities with clubs, and so he would just swim a lot by himself,
Yeah,
which was insane. But why do you think it's a breaststroke thing? What makes you say that?
I think it's important for breaststroke. Like the number one thing is to have like a good feel for the water.
Mhm.
Um, like you can like people can train like 3 or 4 times a week. For breaststrokers can train 3 or 4 times a week and still pop off an amazing time, whereas with strokes that require higher levels of fitness, um, you have to be in a better shape, rather than just having it based on feel. And so like I know like you always see um, that random like 30-year-old at nationals who in the like 100 breast or 200 breast who's like swimming these times that guys like that are 22 fresh out of college are barely swimming. And so I think it's just something about breaststroke, about the feel of the stroke, because like you don't see that very often with other events. um, yeah, I don't know, it's a weird stroke. Everybody says it's a weird stroke, and they're right.
And they're right. I agree. Um, and so you were tell me about your training schedule in Cape Girardeau. Did you
Okay.
just do mornings?
No, so let's see. What I would do is I would try to at least swim Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning because those are long course. And then I would do Monday through Friday afternoons, 25 yards. And then I would also do Saturday morning. Sometimes I think I did that mostly yards. And I only like in the mornings I would practice for maybe an hour and a half. And in the evenings I would practice an hour to an hour and a half as well. So definitely a lot less than I used to do. But I think just doing more quality work, like things that were more specific to me, I was able to like maximize the efficiency of that hour and a half hour. And then I would also, one thing that I did do was I lifted a lot more. And so during college, I only lifted once or twice a week. And then being out in Cape Girardeau, since I was getting less torque because I was swimming less, I lifted more. And so I was able to lift 3 times a week. And then me and the other interns would play basketball pretty hard on Fridays after work. And then we would also have a volleyball game on Thursdays, or on Tuesdays, which I usually went a little too hard in. And so I got a lot of different fitness opportunities than I usually did, especially with lifting. And I think that actually is what helped me a lot in the ISL because it's short course. And so being muscular is extra like beneficial in short course versus long course.
Dude, I'm just trying to tally all these different fitness opportunities, as you said, and with a full-time job. And it sounds like busy days.
Yeah, I was like thinking about it, all I was doing was eating, sleeping, working out, and just working. But it was pretty satisfying because I felt like I was making a good use of my time. Another thing that I was doing that I forgot was I was biking. So actually, so I got a bike during quarantine. And so I brought a bike out there and it was actually really hard because as you probably know, the Missouri hills are pretty steep compared to what we have in Ohio. And then also it was so hot. It was like 95 and I was biking and I would ride my bike and up a super huge hill and like it would be so hot and there's like dead armadillos on the road, but I kept going. It was pretty fun. And actually the last race that I had before ISL was a bike race. I did a time trial, like a 10-mile time trial. So I was just doing whatever I could to stay in shape.
How did that go?
I think that it went pretty well. I got beaten by like all the guys with like the $10,000 bikes, but I feel like I held my own. The way that we did it was like, I guess I'm not really sure. I'm not that familiar with the biking world, but we did a time trial. And so we would have one person start and then another person starts like a minute after and another person starts a minute after and went slowest to fastest. So like the fastest people caught up. And the guy who was running the race must have thought that I was an amateur. And so he put me second. And so like from the onset, I was like, okay, my goal is to not get caught by anybody. And so it was like the last like 100 feet of the race. And one of the guys that was part of like the cycling team that was there had passed me. And I was like, okay, like I thought back to all of the thresholds that I'd done. And I was like, he's not going to beat me. And so I put my head down and sprinted to the end. And I actually came in first for my position, but like, because they went like 10 minutes behind me, they beat me, but it was really fun.
That's awesome. So you were the first finisher.
Yeah, I was the first finisher. I don't know
first
if that
across
counts for
the
anything.
line.
Yeah, but I put myself out there.
That's awesome. That's seems like the moral victory at least.
Yeah.
Nice. So sorry, I've asked too much about this time in Missouri, but I think that's super interesting. You were training by yourself. It seems like you got in really good shape heading into that ISL. Obviously, you did well in the ISL. So let's take it back to your days at Michigan.
Yeah.
First of all, you guys had an awesome class.
Yeah, I know. We never really got to like show how awesome we were because we weren't all firing at the same time. But our senior year, I swear, like we were looking so good. It was so sad. We had, I think we started our freshman year with 14 guys, and I think only one guy ended up quitting swimming. And so, or he was a diver. And so we retained almost the entire class, and we just really bonded with each other, and we were all really hard workers. And so it all just went perfectly. And I think we were probably we would have made a big impact at NC's last year if it had happened.
Which is such a bummer, but
Yeah.
Take me through. I know this is big question, but kind of take me through your time at Michigan, and especially what made it so special going through it with that group of guys.
Yeah. So even before I committed to Michigan, I had been on a few trips with the guys who had already committed, and I was looking at other schools, but nowhere else did like a team or like a core group of guys in my class like had they committed anywhere else. And so that was like one of the main draws to Michigan for me, is like the people that I could surround myself with, because I always like to like surround myself people that are better than me, and so like I could try to like go up to their level. And so when we got there, it was almost like everything clicked instantly. Like as far as relationships go, like we were all like great buddies. Oh. My computer announces the time.
Nice.
But yeah, so we were all really good buddies. But yeah, my freshman year, I was swimming okay, but it didn't seem like I really was doing the right things. I was focusing on the 100 breast, and that was kind of like not really what my focus was during high school. And school was also a lot harder than high school was, like the academic side. And so my freshman year, it was pretty tough. I think a lot of people would empathize with that. I think it was just much different than what you're used to in high school, and it's just hard to adjust to that. But I like after the first semester, I went home and I talked a lot with my parents and like made a game plan going forward. And after that, like something clicked with Michigan, and my classes started going well, and swimming started going well. And going into my sophomore year, a lot of my class had done really well at NC's. Their freshman year, like Felix Abuk got second in the mile, I think. And so like that was really cool, and I was super inspired by my classmates. And so the next year I made the goal, okay, I want to make NC's this year. And so going through that year, everything felt a lot better. My classes were going a lot better, and I was doing a lot better in swimming. And then I made NC's, and it was super cool. And then I even I dropped more time somehow at NC's and got 7th or something in the 200 breast, and I hadn't even made an A final at Big Tens the year before. And so that was really cool. And it was just something like another thing that our class could hang our hats on. And so going into the junior year, just kept it rolling. Something happened with us, I swear, in our junior year at Austin at NC's, because like Felix got last in the 500, but then he came back to win the mile. And like I got like, I didn't make finals in the 200 IM, but in my 400 IM I dropped like 3 seconds, and so something was going on, so that wasn't really a good showing. But then last year would have been really great. But I think more than like just the swimming in school, it was like more of how our class developed and like how we like really enjoyed each other, which was what made our class so good. And like For example, like me and Charlie Swanson really wanted to go down to Florida for open water nationals. And so my coach said, okay, so me, Charlie, and Felix all were training distance at the beginning of the summer after our junior year. And we went down to Florida and or something like the guys who didn't make the Big Ten team on our class drove like all the way to like Bloomington, which is like a 7-hour drive from Ann Arbor, to come watch us swim. And so like it was just like the things that we did together that kind of helped us all stay together through the entire time and helped us all perform at such a high level.
What motivated you guys to go to open water nationals?
Well, it's probably so the year before when they were in Arizona, Felix and Will Roberts, who's a senior on the team now, they both went and they came back with all these fun stories. And me and Charlie were just like, oh, we want to do that. Like, why can't we? And so like Josh probably was like, what are they doing? Like, don't they realize they're falling into my trap? And so so he was like, yeah, sure, I'll put you guys in the 1,000. So my junior year, I did the 1,000 at like 2 or 3 dual meets, and I got my open water cut. And then he was like, all right.
Is that how you get an open water cut, is through the 1,000?
You can get it through the 1,000 or the mile,
okay,
or the 1,500. But the 1,000 was long enough for me. So we did that at one of the dual meets and had suits on and we got the cut, which wasn't that fast. It was like 9:10 or something like that, or 9:15 or something like that. But yeah, and so then after NCs, Josh was like, okay, it's time to start training distance. And so we're like, okay. And so the first few weeks, it was pretty shocking because we started off long course distance. And so we were doing like, I mean, remember one practice we did 9 500s all out. And I was like, oh my gosh, like
long
I can't
course?
do this. Yeah. And
no.
But it was weird. Like I felt like my body like adapted to it, and all of a sudden like I was able, like normally I'm not able to really do a 300 fast in practice, but I was able to do 300 so easy because after doing like a 900 or an 800 fast, like a 300 feels like nothing. And so it was actually really nice. It was like a nice change of pace to do distance. I don't know if I would recommend it forever, but it was pretty good. And so yeah, it was a fun time, surprisingly. But the 5K was not a fun time. They had the 10K and the 5K, and I only did the 5K. Me and Charlie only did the 5K because Josh was like, okay, 10K would be way too much for you guys. And it probably would have been. And in the 5K, Charlie did pretty well. But from the moment I dove in, I don't know if it was nerves or what. And we were wearing like the full body suits in the ocean in March or in May. And so like maybe like I got nervous and my chest tightened up or something. But that 5K was the longest swim I've ever had. So I don't know if I'll go back, but it was a fun experience.
Yeah. Did you get the fun stories that you had coveted?
Yeah, I did, because the 5K was on the last day. And so like we got there on like Wednesday or Thursday and the race was on Sunday. And so like those 4 or 5 days previous, we were just having fun. Of course, staying in like good swimming shape, but like we would go out to eat someplace fun, or like we went to the beach one day or something like that. And it was also fun to watch them do the 10K and not swim it. There was dolphins like in the middle of the course during it. And it was cool to see like Polchinari just destroy like a 10K. I'd never seen a distance swimmer like swim for that long so fast. And so that was pretty cool. And it was a really good experience too.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's not something I would think a normal swimmer would do, but hey, that sounds pretty fun.
You got to do it at least once.
Nice.
Open water swimming is still swimming.
Dude, open water swimming terrifies me because I can't see.
Yeah.
Are you okay in open water?
I mean, as far as swimming, yes. I'm not really afraid unless I see like I haven't seen anything yet. Like I haven't seen like a shark or a stingray or anything, and so
Sure.
like I'm okay right now. But until when I see one of those things, maybe my story will change. But when you mentioned not being able to see things, um, we were doing it in like a cove, and
Mm.
the buoys that they were using were red, and in the background was the forest. And I am unfortunately colorblind, and so I didn't realize it during the race or during like the warm-ups, but during the race I was like I cannot see the buoys, and so I was just having to follow the swimmers. It was quite the experience.
Wow, that's again just getting lost in open water. It sounds terrifying to me, but you made it.
Yeah, made it.
Nice. Okay, and so and I just want to touch for nostalgia's sake. I also want to touch on your club days. You
Yeah.
came from the Dayton Raiders. Like I said, I worked for under Gary Galbraith in Columbia, Missouri, who was one of your club coaches
Mhm.
at the Dayton Raiders before that. Um, you know that group, and especially at that time, there's a lot of really good swimmers in that
Mhm.
group.
Yeah.
What was it like coming up through high school and coming up in that group?
Yeah, it was really cool. Um, I was when I was there, I was the youngest guy in that like line of successful swimmers, I guess. Um, and then so it was really cool. Like when I was 12 or 13, I had no clue what the national junior team was, but there were guys on the team that were on the national junior team and going to national select camps. And so I think that was really rare for someone who's like Dayton isn't like the biggest city. It's not like known for their like swimming, and so to have exposure to that kind of thing at such a young age, and especially exposure to like different college coaches coming, because there were always coaches doing recruiting at the Dayton Raiders, and so like I was really lucky to have all of that. And then um, as I got older, like kids came from other teams, and so like then they kind of like the line kind of built in around me, and so I had other people like Eric Knowles, who's on the national team now, or Cody Bybee, and so like they were like behind me, and so like it was really cool to have this like string of like really successful swimmers from Dayton, Ohio, of all places. It's not like it's Cincinnati or anywhere in California or Texas or something. So it was really valuable experience, and it gave me a lot of perspective because um, we didn't always have the nicest facilities. Sometimes I remember I remember one set where we were at this pool that was 25 meters, and it was like in this uh, facility that was built in like the 40s, and it wasn't in the greatest part of town. I remember Gary wrote a set on the board, and it was 2200s. Like I remember it being all out, and it was just an interesting time. And I think it gave me a lot of gratitude for like the facilities that I have now wherever I am. Especially like even Cape Girardeau, I was like, these are better than some of the places I've trained. So it was good, but it also kind of gave me like Rocky, like a Rocky personality. So Rocky Balboa. So I think it was a good time there in Ohio. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. And I still keep in touch. I just went, and when I was home for Thanksgiving, I was training with them, and still getting my butt kicked by some of their practices there. And so yeah, it was really fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you shared the 2200 set in a 25-meter pool. Was there another practice that stands out to you as one that was particularly epic? I mean, Gary,
Yeah.
is just known for writing monsters of sets, and he would always, he always talked about the kids at Dayton. He's like, oh, these kids would do this stuff, and they would do this stuff, and they would go these times, and it's like, man, it's like he really bragged on you guys. Is
That's
there is there a
yeah.
set that stands out to you?
Another set that I remember is we did it was um it was 40 100s, and it was um one fast, three easy, for 16. So it was like 1 on, 3 off. And then after 16, it was 1 on, 2 off. And then for 12, and then like odds, fast, evens, easy, and then 4 100s, all fast. And so you end up doing 16 100s all out. And I remember guys were going under 50 on most of them. And I was like, when I was trying to do that when I was like, I don't know, in 8th grade or something, I was like, how are these people going so fast? And it was really, it's funny that set still sticks out to me, because we did it a few times, and every time I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get destroyed on this one. But I don't know if he ever pulled that one out in Columbia.
Oh yeah, that was a Gary favorite.
Yeah,
for sure. What were all the hundreds on? Do you remember? Did it vary?
No, I think it, as the time went up, then the or it's like at the first 16 they were probably on like 120, then like 130, 140, 150 or something like that. Probably. I that's too far away for me to remember, but just the set, I can never forget that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're back from ISL. You just got back from Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Moving forward, what is your plan in and out of the pool now?
Yeah. So swimming at ISL gave me a lot of confidence, and it made me think that maybe there is a reason for me to keep swimming, other than just like it works out, because that's kind of what I had done before. But now I'm like maybe there is like some value, and like I can actually accomplish something. And so I still don't know really exactly what I'm doing. Everything's up in the air because of COVID. It's so hard to plan things these days, but my tentative plan right now is to I'm supposed to be done with my master's program next semester. So I'm only supposed to have one more, but I've talked to the administration, and I think I'm going to stretch it out over 2. And so allow myself to focus a little bit more on swimming next semester. And then hopefully I'm able to stay in Michigan. I'm not really sure what's happening though, because they're just now are like, I guess swimming's officially in season, or as far as like the athletic department goes. And so they're bumping up the COVID testing. And so they're having to test, I think, like 6 times a week for at least the next 2 weeks. And so that's kind of hard, because the athletic department isn't really, they're trying, but it's hard to justify like paying for postgrads when it's like they're barely able to pay for like their athletes. And so we're working to find like the best opportunity here. So if anyone's watching this and has the hookup for COVID tests, let us know. But yeah, so I'm really going week by week, trying to make things work. I might end up training someplace else, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that. But just trying to just do the best that I can with what I have. And so, but yeah, I'm excited for trials. I'm excited for the opportunity to try to race out there. Feeling really excited about breaststroke, and especially just because it's feeling so good right now. Like I said, breaststroke's a weird stroke, and so when it's on, like you gotta capitalize on it. And so I'm really gonna be hammering on the 100 and 200 breast.
Nice. Well, Tommy, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me for a little bit. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad your breaststroke's feeling good, man. I'm excited to see you race in the future.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome talking to you.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.